3-1 to Alonso. Williams sets. Here's the pitch. Swinging a fly ball to right field. Pretty well hit. Frelick back at the wall. He jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career. Pumps his fist as he rounds second. It's a 3-run homer. He's given the Mets a 3-2 lead. They all pour out of the dugout. Alonso on his way to home plate. They're waiting for him. He hits the plate. He is first congratulated by Nimmo, hugged by Lindor. There are a dozen Mets waiting for him outside the dugout. Pete Alonso keeps this fairy tale season going with the fairy tale swing of his career. 3-2 New York.
You gotta love October baseball. Baseball is the best. I'm Josh Suchon from the Albuquerque Isotopes, and of course, that was the instant classic call of Howie Rose on New York Mets radio after an instant classic game.
And I'm Jesse Goldberg-Strassler with the Lansing Lugnuts. Jeff Passan heard that call, and he wrote, quoting, "This might be the most perfect radio call I've ever heard." And if you know Jeff Passan, the man who's not just sticking to sports, but sticking to baseball, this got him to thinking about the greatest baseball radio calls ever, which inspired a thread, which inspired, Josh, this show.
You gotta love a tweet that inspires an episode. Jeff Passan, thank you for giving us the inspiration for today's show.
What I want to get into with you, Josh, as we listen to the replies, and we see when Jeff puts out this call for what are the greatest baseball radio calls ever, reply to this. Let's put up a whole big thread, and this will serve as a public service for everybody who loves baseball, who loves broadcast, like who understands the importance and how great it is to have a great call. This is our profession, but this is also our passion. And we are also fans. So we can sit back and watch a game or listen to a game. And that's part of what created Crafting the Call is, because we love this and we appreciate how great it is. Jeff does too. And there are legions of us. There are so many people who responded with their favorite calls. So I'm coming at this two different ways. The first way is I want to sit back with you and enjoy these great calls, especially the ones that you and I have not broken down before on an episode. But then I'd also like to ask you the larger question, which is, do these calls all have something in common? What is it that makes the great radio call?
All right, well then let's get right to the tweet that inspired the episode. All right, so here's the tweet from Jeff Passan, and it got him immediately thinking about Down Goes Anderson from Tom Hamilton. Now, we did an episode on this one, Jesse. So do you want to hear this call again, though?
I would not mind.
Here it comes. A swing and a smash to first by the diving Vaughn. Down the right field line. Kicks into the corner. Ramirez on his way to second. Head first slide. Safe and in to score is Jimenez. And another hustle double. Right over the bag at first. Now Hosey and Anderson square off. They're fighting. They're swinging. Down goes Anderson. Down goes Anderson.
Down goes Anderson, of course, hearkening back to Down Goes Frazier. We did an entire episode about fights and brawls and when they're fun and when they become very dangerous, referencing the Braves and Padres in 1984. And I know that some people will hear this and say, oh, he's stealing the line from Howard Cosell. But in my mind, Jesse, this is not about stealing. It's about how broadcasters pay homage to others by using these famous lines, these famous expressions in order to kind of tie together the history of sports.
If you don't understand it, you can still appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get that Hammy is winking at you as he's calling this base brawl and he elevates to the moment, I can understand why Jeff Passan would say, I am never going to forget this call. Why? When Passan went back and searched his memory to say, all right, I love this Howie Rose call. What's another great baseball radio call? Oh, Hamilton calling the brawl and calling Jose Ramirez punching out Tim Anderson. I get where Jeff Passan's coming from. This is lightning fast Hamilton in the moment.
Okay, so that's the first one that came to Jeff Passan's mind. Let's scroll down now, and let's see what other people. Let's see. So Tyler Kepner right away wanted the Vin Scully, Sandy Koufax perfect game, 1965, 8 minutes of free-flowing, off-the-cuff poetry. Did we do an episode on that one, Jesse?
We sure did. At the very start.
Ooh, let's go to what Dean Siriaco wanted.
Ortiz into deep right field. Back is Sheffield. We'll see you later tonight. A 5-hour, 2-minute game and worth every second of it for the Boston Red Sox. And these fans who stayed here at Fenway Park.
Part of the comeback from 3-0 down. It's Joe Buck hearkening back to his dad. And we talked about it when it's the Cardinals and the Rangers. But this, we'll see you later tonight. Come on now.
Yeah, so this was the start of the comeback from down 3-0. This was very much the less is more era of Joe Buck. I think that Joe would probably call that a little bit differently. I think he was still saving his voice at that point. It was very much call it, be quiet for a long time, come back with the stamp. What's interesting historically now, Jesse, I want to get your opinion about this because I almost feel like the Dave Roberts stolen base has become the defining moment of that game. And then it's sort of like all of the different hits of David Ortiz are sort of the defining moment of that series. But when I think game 4, I think about the Dave Roberts stolen base now.
Yes, yes. And the comeback in general from 3-0 down to the Red Sox eliminating the Yankees on their way to breaking the curse.
Benjamin Hochman, a reporter in St. Louis, this inexplicableness of this makes it great. Cardinals backup catcher Glenn Brummer steals home in extra innings to win a game. Did we do an episode on this, Jesse?
That we did. Yes, sir.
We did an entire episode on stealing home, and this was one of the great calls I thought that we had within that episode.
Yeah, Benjamin made a great call here because Mike Shannon made a great call here. He was right on it. Crying out loud, Glenn Brummer stealing home? It's fantastic. And Mike Shannon was ready.
Do you think that we can work inexplicableness into a broadcast at some time next year, Jesse?
I accept the challenge.
That is a mouthful, but I really like inexplicableness, which is a good way to describe a backup catcher on a straight steal of home.
Inexplicitity?
All right, let's see what other people wanted to see. Tom Cheek, Joe Carter, 1993 World Series.
Yeah.
Did we do an episode on that one?
Ding, ding, ding.
Not only did we do an episode, we'll explain what we did for that episode.
So everyone remembers the Tom Cheek call, touch 'em all, Joe. But he wasn't the only broadcaster calling it. And the fact that you had greats, you had Harry Callis for the Phillies. You had Sean McDonough for national TV. You had Jack Buck for national radio. You had Vin Scully. Right? It was Vin, not Jack. So you had Vin Scully on national radio. So we listened to them all calling Joe Carter.
A compare and contrast of 4 different calls of Joe Carter's home run. That was a really good episode.
I loved Sean McDonough's.
Oh, let's get some John Sterling love here. We'll rewind this.
Swung on. There it goes. Deep left. It is high. It is far. It is gone. Number 62 to set the new American League record. Aaron Judge hits his 62nd. All the Yankees out of the dugout to greet him. Just think of it. 3 Yankee right fielders The Babe hitting 60 and 27. The Jolly Roger hitting 61 and 61. And now Aaron Judge hits his 62nd home run, the most home runs any American leaguer has hit in a single season. And the American League has been alive for 120 years. This is Judgment Day. Case closed.
All right, so that is John Sterling in the ultimate John Sterling moment with his different expressions. I do appreciate, though, Jesse, on this call, 3 Yankees right fielders and breaking them down, the number, the year. I thought that's a really clever way to do things right there.
It's important. And John Sterling can lend that gravitas to the history, especially talking about how the American League has been around for so long. Judgment Day and Case closed. Well, that's pure Sterling having fun with language. And if you love John, you really love that moment. But that sense of history injected right into the thick of things, right as Judge is rounding the bases and approaching the plate. That's beautiful.
All right, let's see what other people wanted.
Before you do, I do think, you and I, let's give John Sterling his full episode later on.
Ooh, yes. All right. A full episode from John Sterling. Duly noted. All right. Eric Steven, who writes for True Blue LA, the oft-forgotten other call of Kirk Gibson's home run by Don Drysdale. Well, I love this because that's my book.
Yeah.
Did we do an episode on this one, Jesse?
I mean, you wrote the book on it. You bet we did.
Yes. Anytime that I can plug a book, Miracle Men, it's about the 1988 Dodgers. I wrote the book on it, and then we did a call. And this is another one of the episodes where we did Vin Scully, national TV. We did Jack Buck, national radio. We did Don Drysdale, Dodgers radio, and the extremely rare call of Bill King on Oakland A's radio, 4 calls of 1 play.
And Gibson calls time and backs out. So the battle of minds starts to work a little bit. Gibson at deep side, re-gripping the bat, shoulders just shrugged. Now goes to the top of the helmet as he always does, steps in with that left foot. Eckersley working out of the stretch. Here's the 3-2 pitch, and a drive hit to right field. Way back! It's gone! It's gone!
Okay, one of the things that makes this call so memorable is Drysdale loses his voice way back. He becomes a teenager going through puberty. And then he has an extremely, and I do mean extremely long layout. Then he says a few more words, then has another extremely long layout. And so that's why I'm going to stop the call right there. But the call becomes memorable because Drysdale lost his voice, which he never did.
It's a great call. It's a great setup. And then to let it breathe. And then you remember what words he comes back with.
And this time, Mighty Casey did not strike out.
Doggone right.
All right, let's get back to some of the other calls that people wanted to include on Jeff Passan's tweet.
Hey, Tyler Kepner.
Tyler Kepner again.
Tyler's like, let me text Jeff about Sandy Koufax. Meanwhile, I'm going to get in some Harry Kalas action. What's up?
Have we done an episode on Harry Kalas?
Yeah, you bet we did.
Yeah, we did a really good one. I enjoyed the one on Harry Kalas.
And he's right that there was no out of here for Mike Schmidt's 500. Tyler's still thinking.
Tyler's got another one.
There's Koufax.
Oh,
yes.
Dan Van Wyner.
Swung line drive, left field. 1 run is in. Here comes Green. Here's the throw to the plate. He is safe. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win.
The Braves
A
win.
lot of room in right center if he hits one there.
So it's the Caray classic repetition. And by the way, Josh, did we do anything on Skip Caray?
Yes, we did do an episode on Skip Caray. And not only did we do an episode on Skip Caray, we had his grandson, Chris Caray, now one of the Oakland A's broadcasters, join us to break down his grandfather. And my favorite part of the episode, Jesse, was actually the way that he said, this is the style of my great-grandfather. This is the style of my grandfather. This is the style of my dad. And this is my style. The way that he broke down the different Carays was really interesting to me.
Yeah. And this is a great call. This is one of the formative baseball memories as I was growing up, was Sid Bream beating Barry Bonds' throw home.
All right. What else we got? This one is funny.
It's Anderson and interfered with, no. Into the stands, the umpire ruling Tim Timmons and one beverage less than they had before.
Wow, what's he got now? He's got mud on him and an alcoholic beverage. He made a good call here as he, let's see, how does this happen? It wasn't even him. Oh, wow. It's funny.
Oh.
What did it do? Oh. What was that came flying in? Now watch. I can't circle. I don't have my telestrator today, but here comes a pizza. See it? Oh, jeez.
Highly unnecessary.
That with the Patriots jacket, and of course he's been asked to leave the.
Oh my goodness.
Jerry Remy. R.I.P. Jerry Remy.
Tell me you're at Fenway Park without telling me that you're at Fenway Park.
Here comes the pizza. We'll live forever.
All right. What do we got next? Michael Watring. Oh, the Pete Rose.
Marty Brenneman.
Marty Brenneman. Did we do an episode on this one?
Yes, we did.
The episode on Marty Brenneman got a lot of clicks.
Pete Rose recently passed away as we record this episode.
Yeah. What do we got here next? Another one for the Braves, the exact same play.
Grant McCauley, just in case.
Just in case. All right. Oh, Dan Dickerson, 2006 ALCS Game 4.
Maglio.
Let's go back and listen.
To the World Series. 1-0, swinging a fly ball, left field is deep. It's way back. The Tigers are going to the World Series. 3-run walk-off home run. Oh man! Ojoji has around third. He's into a box-seat at home. The Tigers have beat the A's 6-3, completed a 4-game sweep in one of the greatest turnarounds in baseball history. 1-0, swinging a fly ball left.
Well, that is fitting. Tigers, great turnaround considering what's happening this year.
Dan Dickerson has some kind of pipes. He's articulate, he's smart, and he has a way of, he can go up with his voice. So his voice is rising up in note, musical note, but he can also get in with it. So it gets guttural and it gets big and he blasts it out. He's a guy who his fastball rises upper 90s.
Fun fact about this game, that is the last game that I covered as a newspaper reporter.
Oh, wow.
Before I became a play-by-play announcer, I covered first the Giants and then the A's for the Oakland Tribune. So this was 2006, and this was the last game story, notebook, feature, sidebars, all that I did in my newspaper writing career before switching over to broadcasting. I remember watching that home run, quickly filing something, and then going down to the clubhouse to get my quotes.
And then you hung up the fedora. You put the typewriter away and you washed all the ink off your fingers.
Yes. And then I started grabbing these microphones and going from there. Great call, Dan Dickerson. Well done. All right. What else we got? Oh, Bobby Thompson. Giants win the pennant. We definitely got to listen to this one. Let's rewind.
Russ Hodges. Mr. Goldberg recorded this.
Let's go back to the beginning. Tell us more of the history of this call in case people don't know, Jesse.
Ernie Harwell and Russ Hodges are broadcasting this game, but Harwell's got the TV call, so he thinks he's in, right? Everyone's going to remember his call, but it didn't get recorded for all that I know. But a Mr. Goldberg was recording the call of Russ Hodges on the radio. And after this happened, after the Giants shocked the Dodgers, it was a best 2 out of 3 playoff following the National League season to break the tie after the Giants came back from 13 and a half back in August to tie the Dodgers for the National League. Well, the Dodgers won, the Giants won, they went back and forth, they split the first 2 games, and then Bobby Thompson takes Ralph Branca deep. It's a walk-off homer. It's a gigantic home run in baseball history. You could make a case this is the greatest home run in baseball history, considering its moment and the magnitude heaped upon it, even though the Giants lost in the World Series. And here's this guy, Mr. Goldberg, contacting the folks going, hey, who wants this recording I've got? Well, they took his recording and they made tons of them and they distributed them everywhere. And that's why this has lived onward.
I bought one of these CDs at some time in the 90s that was like baseball's best audio or something like that. And it had Tommy Lasorda, what did you think of Dave Kingman's performance? That was on there. And it also had the Willie Mays song and the Jackie Robinson song and Talkin' Baseball and all these other like songs. But it also had this clip, this call. And I listened to it over and over because I remember hearing different people in the Bay Area reference this clip, and I didn't totally, completely understand what it meant. And then once you do realize the significance of it, and then that's when this clip lives on, the repeating, the Giants won the pennant, the Giants won the pennant. We heard that with Skip Caray. Braves win, Braves win, Braves win. That repetitive name of the team win, going over and over. Everyone does a homage to this at some point in their career, at least they should, Jesse.
My father, diehard Giants fan, has a framed photo of the moment on his wall. And you can press the baseball on this portrait and it plays Russ Hodges' call. And so when the Giants are winning the championships in 2010, 2012, 2014, we're doing celebratory pressings and hearing over and over and over Russ Hodges. Because everyone has heard this so much, yes, it's influential. It gets into your subconscious. And then when you're a broadcaster and your team wins the pennant, how can you not say they win the pennant, they win the pennant, they win the pennant? How can you not say when the crowd is making tons of noise and there's pandemonium, they're going crazy? That's why this call, because of all those plays, compared to all those other calls that were lost over the years, it has lived onward and the vocabulary has been passed forward.
The thing that I've wondered about the actual video that we just watched, and I'm going to pause it, or I'm going to play it, but without the audio, so that we can just watch the video, because this is something that I've always wondered. So this is a radio call, and so obviously the video is added later. And so we see this. Now this crowd reactions. Who filmed these crowd reactions? Who got these at the right time? Like whoever originally edited all of this together, and it has lived on. But it makes me wonder about, like, we didn't have the cutaways into the crowd back then that we do now. So I've always wondered, like, especially that shot. Where did that come from?
I'm picturing the newsreel, and I'm going, all right, get me crowd reactions. It's not just this moment. You find any of these old school baseball moments, and you can find the cutaways into the crowd that they go, splice it in here, splice it in there. And you can picture them actually splicing.
Yes, with tape.
Yes.
The actual tape.
I got C's and D's in that class in college. They really worked us over with the reel-to-reel. And then a couple of years later, obsolete.
Obsolete. All right. What is next? Gary Cohen, the Grand Slam single.
Robin Ventura.
Deep right field. That ball headed toward the wall. That ball is out of here. Out of here. A game-winning Grand Slam home run off the bat of Robin Ventura. Ventura with a Grand Slam. They're mobbing him before he can get to second base. The Mets have won the ball game. Ventura hit it over the right center field fence. A game-winning Grand Slam home run. I don't know if they'll let Ventura circle the bases, but it doesn't matter. The Mets have won it. They've won the ball game, and the Mets will send this series to a game number 6 on Tuesday night.
Valenci staring in, has his sign.
All right, I have a very controversial question to ask you. What is your opinion of using the phrase Grand Slam home run?
Oh, this is a Bill King rule, right? Bill
Yes.
King says when you say Grand Slam, that's it. Do not say home run. There are other things that I've learned. You never thank your broadcast partner for throwing it to you on air. They're the cardinal rules. So I know that the correct answer to this question is Grand Slam home run is not a thing that a broadcaster should say.
It's funny because there's just these different things that you never think of, right? I remember I had a journalism professor, and I loved using the phrase needless to say to begin a paragraph. And he would walk over with a copy of the Daily Aztec, and he would say, if it's needless to say, why say it? So there's these different phrases that you say, and it's like the first ever. Do you need first ever? It's just first.
I got a couple more for you. When someone says that they're speechless, prove it. When someone describes something as indescribable, oh, seems to me you just tried.
Right. Because Bill King had a bigger impact on me than any other broadcaster, I feel like it is my duty to follow his rules, to not say Grand Slam home run. My first year broadcasting after I left newspaper business, where I had been around Bill King a lot. Again, I grew up listening to Bill King, and then I'm covering the A's. I get to learn and talk to Bill. And my first year, I used Grand Slam home run for the first time that there was a Grand Slam. And then someone told me, you broke one of Bill King's cardinal rules. And I went, oh, no, that's right. I owe it to my broadcasting idol, Bill King, to never use Grand Slam home run. And I feel like once you hear it once and it gets pointed out, then you go, oh, yeah, it's totally unnecessary.
Isn't number 3 never say swinging bunt?
No, I thought the third one was early on.
Early on. Okay. Yes. I've got another one for you. Something that bothers me is when people say the first base bag or the third base bag. And I just say first base.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 1999. This is the NLCS, and this is the bottom of the 15th inning. And I forgive the Mets for not letting Ventura complete the round trip tour.
By the way, I remember watching this game at a bar in Denver with some friends. I was in Denver, technically Fort Collins, to watch San Diego State play Colorado State. We were then back in Denver afterwards. I remember watching this game from a bar in Denver, for whatever that matters.
That matters a lot.
I think it is fun when you can remember exactly where you were for some of these calls.
Oh, this brings me back into my question from the very top. What makes a call a great call for you? And I do think if you can remember, if there's something about that moment when you first heard it, I remember where I was with Francisco Cabrera or with Kirk Gibson, or you can name some others, you remembering you've got the CD with Bobby Thompson. I do think that it's beyond Tyler Kepner saying, I am going to nominate Sandy Koufax and Vin Scully because this is pure artistry.
Yeah, even as you say that, I'm thinking about, okay, where was I for that Orlando Cabrera? I was in college. I remember I was at my apartment watching that. I think about 1993, the Joe Carter. I was at a friend's apartment. There was 4 of us. And I remember I made the critical decision that night that instead of going to the San Diego State football game, I wanted to stay home to watch Game 6 of the World Series. And I was with my friend Roland and Tom, and I believe Eric was there. And so we were all watching Game 6 of the World Series together for that. And so yes, being able to timestamp not just this great moment, this great call, but also who was I with? What were we doing? Where were we watching this from?
That's where I think for the broadcaster, the importance is just being able to rise to the moment. And Gary Cohen's voice is fantastic. He is always going to be ready to rise to that moment. And these other broadcasters that we've talked about, the greatness of the voice and the inflection, the word choice, all these different things. So if the moment means something special to you, and then the broadcaster is ready for it and delivers, then that combines to elevate things.
All right, let's see what's next. For the Mariners, this
Rick
is
Rizzs.
Rizzs. Let's listen to some Rizzs.
Record in April, the rough May, had to battle through some big injuries. A winning record in June, July, August, and now in September. And the Mariners knocking on the door to a playoff appearance for the first time since 2001. Here's the stretch. The 3-2 pitch, swinging a drive, deep to right field, stay fair. Holy smokes, he did it! Off the Hidden Air Cafe. Cal Raleigh with a walk-off home run. How sweet it is! The Mariners end the 20-year drought on a walk-off home run by Cal Raleigh. They win the ball game 2-1, and the Mariners are going to the playoffs. And a playoff contender, they go to the playoffs as a wild card member. Cal Raleigh with his 26th home run of the year. 47,000 fans are going crazy here at T-Mobile Park.
It's a great call.
How sweet it is. Big dumper. Question for you, Josh.
Yeah.
This is relatively new. What are your thoughts on all the cameras in the booth?
Yeah, I like it. We did one episode where we saw Dave Sims, and I like it as a broadcasting nerd because I think that I can learn a lot from watching the eyes of another broadcaster. Where do the eyes go? How often you're looking down at your scorebook, how the way that you're just looking around. I feel like it's a way that I can learn from it. And I think it's a great way to emphasize what we as primarily radio announcers do while also giving you the visual. Heck, that's what this show is, right? You're looking at us as we describe these moments and look at these moments. I don't want to do it on a regular basis, but there is a few times, maybe it's because I'm very much look at me, that I'll turn on my own phone when there's the opportunity for a walk-off, and I'll angle it so that you can see the monitor that's in my booth. You can see basically the side of my face. I honestly do it so that I can learn from myself. Where do my eyes go? What am I thinking? What does my neck look like as I'm trying to stay composed, but also rise to the moment? I learned a lot just from watching Rizzs in that call. How about you?
Love the double fist pump. I love that. What I love most about the camera in the booth is I feel like it humanizes the broadcaster. It's not just this disembodied voice, that here's the person and here's what they're feeling. Watching John Sterling in the booth delivering his calls during the postseason, and it's just so charming that there's his old stick mic, and there he is grinning from ear to ear, delivering the call, sitting back, and I think that the quality to be able to humanize a broadcaster and to say, here's the person behind the microphone who's enjoying themselves, who's loving this, and here's that voice that you know so well, and it just emanates naturally from them. I think that's beautiful. Where the camera in the booth loses me, especially what I've seen from younger broadcasters, when they break the fourth wall, when they're making too much eye contact on that camera, instead of the camera just being there, instead of it being not a part of anything, and it's the broadcaster making the call. Have you seen that where the broadcasters turn to the microphone and they're making the call and suddenly they go, I don't need that. I just need the human being who's calling this great moment.
I agree with you on that. I think that even if you know the camera is there, never acknowledge it. I think it's best if you don't know that it's there, so that there isn't any sense of performance for the camera.
Rick Rizzs is describing the 47,000 as he's looking out over the 47,000. It's beautiful. You can see the words connecting with the synapses firing in his brain. Here is why he's saying what he's saying. It's brilliant. He has a moment there where he doesn't know what to say, and so he's just saying the same words, right? He's just trying to figure out what he's going to say next. But because we're watching him, we can understand.
And again, I go back to how much I feel like I can learn when I watch another broadcaster, right? You and I, and almost all of us, we grew up listening. And then when you actually see somebody work, again, I'll go back to 2006 was my last year as a newspaper reporter. 2007 was my first year I was with the Modesto Nets. And before that season began, there was an A's Giants spring training game. And I was in the booth to watch Ken Korak and Vince Cotroneo. And I was mesmerized. And I took notes. And I saved those notes to this day that I took, where I just wrote down a number of different things, just observing them, the way that they just set everything up. And again, I go back to, I learned so much watching them behind the scenes. And I learned from Rizzs here. And I feel like I learn almost every single time that I watch an announcer, and then I can see what they're seeing and then see them.
Because it helps you understand how they get to their words. It's the process that leads to the words. The words are not where things start. The words are how everything comes out. And so if you follow that, if you check the prep, if you check the eye discipline, if you check any of these different things, preparing for each half inning, whatever it is that they put themselves in position for a call, you can understand then where the words are coming from next.
All right, let's see what's next from Jeff Passan's thread. Tom Hamilton. Every single Tom Hamilton call.
Charlie Slow shout out.
All right, let's listen to Charlie.
Michael Brantley, Hudson sets. The kick, and here it comes. Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books. The celebration is on. The Washington Nationals are the world champions. Remember where you are, so you remember where you are right now at 11:50 Eastern Time. Remember where you are on October 30th, 2019, when the Washington Nationals finished the fight from the depths of a forgettable 19-31 start. They have climbed to the top of baseball's highest peak, giving us all a finish to a season we will remember for the rest of our lives. The Nationals celebrate just behind the pitcher's mound. A world championship Curly W is in the books. The Nationals down 2-0, 6 unanswered runs. They beat the Astros 6-2. They are the world champions of baseball. Unbelievable.
So a bit of context. I'm from the DC area, right? I was born in DC. This is the city of Washington, DC, and the whole DMV area had not celebrated a baseball championship since 1924. That was it. And then the Senators left, and then the next Senators left, and then the Nats arrive in 2005, and 2019, Washington, D.C. gets another baseball championship. So if you are from the area, if baseball means something to you, unless you have a very long memory, but 1924, they were broadcasting when the Washington Senators beat the New York Giants, and old Walter Johnson got the title. This is a moment that you are not going to forget. As Charlie Slows is saying, here's what you need to remember. He's placing this very distinctly in time. And Charlie was a guy who broadcasted Washington Bullets games before leaving the area. So it's that understanding of what does this mean for all the old timers and all the new timers.
It's interesting how earlier in the episode we were discussing, I remember where I was for this moment, for that moment. And here's Charlie pounding it over our heads. Remember where you were.
And while you're at it, remember the main.
All right, what's next? Jake Waters. Okay, so here's once again Tom Cheek. We did this one, an entire episode on this one. Glad that Tom Cheek is getting lots of love here. Dave Niehaus is calling Edgar's double is the only answer. Did we do an episode on Dave Niehaus?
Yeah. Oh, yes, we did. We had to. It was wonderful with Ken.
Ken Levine was our guest for that episode. This is another call in which Dave just keeps going. There's no pausing for the quick edit. He just keeps going.
I think that's fascinating about that whole idea of, because you and I have all these other different positions that we do, that it does run into our broadcasting, because I'm right there with you. Okay, I need this beginning, middle, end. I'm going to do this with this. I'm going to do this with this. And I've got different lengths. But if you don't have to worry about that, if you're just calling it, especially in a moment this big, and especially if you're Dave Niehaus, you go. And that pure enthusiasm.
All right. So we've been talking enough about this clip. We need to actually listen to it now.
Yes.
Whip down the Martinez, swung on and line down the left field line for a base hit. Here comes Joy. Here is Junior at third base. They're going to wave him in. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my. Edgar Martinez with a double. Ripped down the left field line, and they are going crazy at the Martinez swung on and line down the left field line for a base hit. Here.
All right, let's see what is next. The obvious answer is from Gabriel Starr. Let's listen to this one.
Foul ball stabbed by Polk. He has it. He underhands to first, and the Boston Red Sox are the world champions. For the first time in 86 years, the Red Sox have won baseball's world championship. Can you believe it?
Have we done an episode on Joe Castiglione?
Yes, we have. I mean, this is obvious, right? But if you're a fan of a team, you're going to post the clip that is the greatest moment for that team since you've been alive.
This is now making me wonder what. So I did not respond to Jeff Passan's thread. I feel like now maybe I should have. But I'm also wondering what clip would I use, but I'm not allowed to use anything involving any of the Bay Area teams. And then for you, you're not allowed anything of the DC area teams. I'm going to have to think about that some more. Let's get to the next one.
Well, here's the difficulty of it is there's so many great calls.
Yeah.
And so you do have to find the one that emotionally resonates. If you're an Astros fan, maybe it's this one, Robert Ford.
Long run for Tucker over toward the line and foul territory. Makes the catch, and the Houston Astros do it again. 2022 World Series champions. For the second time in 6 years, the Astros are baseball's best. Out of the rubber, he was on the.
Okay, so you mentioned what resonates with you most. Somebody asked me the other day, Jesse, what is the golden era of baseball? And my response was, whatever the year was when you were 15 years old.
Yeah, John Thorne gave a very similar answer when asked the same sort of question. That's the moment in your life when you have the most time, I would argue, that you can really devote and get into it.
And I just had 15 was the number that just came to my mind when my friend asked me this question. But the more I think about it, at age 15, you're old enough that you can really understand what's truly happening. Because I feel like 10, 12, you don't really get it. But age 15, you really understand what's happening here. And that has a huge impact on you. And so when I think back to age 15, that's the A's Bash Brothers. That's 88, 89 for me. So in my mind, that's the golden age of baseball, right? Because it's the Bash Brothers. And the A's are in the World Series 3 straight years.
The greatest baseball moment for me happened when I was 13. It's 21-31. It's Cal Ripken Jr. That's my favorite baseball game of all time. I could watch and rewatch that game. It gets to me and it's difficult to explain why, but I'm 13 years of age, and Cal has just played in this 2,131st consecutive game, and everything about that game, I will never get tired of watching it.
Maybe we need to do an episode on that game.
I would not complain.
All right, let's get a few more. Tom Hamilton once again.
Hammy.
Get some more hammy.
In a drive to deep right. Saunders at the wall. It hits off the top of the wall. Naquin's around second. He's on his way to third. He'll try to score. Here's the throw. Not in time. Usain Naquin flying around the bases on a drive off the top of the wall in right. And the Indians have one of the most improbable endings in this ballpark. Osuna.
Okay, that's just an amazing call. Although the one thing that he does not say is inside the park home run.
He does say Usain Naquin, though.
Yeah.
So we've got reference to boxing, right? We've got Down Goes Frazier, and now we've got a little Usain Bolt tip of the hat. Tom Hamilton with the cultural references. His voice for big moments is unmistakable.
I feel like we need to do an episode on Tom Hamilton as well. Well, probably not already done an episode on Tom Hamilton.
Is that what's going on here? We're going, all right, we did this, we haven't done this, we haven't done this. It's a little bit of past, present, and future.
One thing that I really like about that particular call is that you hear him rising, you hear the call. I like the quick layout, catch your breath, and I like coming back from a layout by emphasizing the player's name right away. Yes. First name and last name. Right. As a former journalist, I feel like, okay, first reference, first name and last name. So when the guy comes to the plate, you say his first name and you say his last name. Throughout the at-bat, you just say his last name. But then after the call and the pause, then you come back, first name and last name again.
I'm staggered by that he has levels that he can reach, because you think that he is peaked on the drive, that's going to be a home run, but it's not a home run. It stays in the ballpark, and he just keeps on ratcheting it up because Hammy can go there.
Not everyone can go there.
No.
What else we got? Oh, that's the Paul. Yeah. This was a good one. Let's go back to this one. This one. Whoops, we need volume.
In a long one to left. It's going to go. It's a slam. Sox lead. 6-4. Light it up. Here's Canerco on the pitch to PK. Swinging a long one to left. It's going to go. It's a slam. Sox lead. 6-4. Light it up. Here's Canerco on the.
Ed Farmer.
Yeah.
Ed Farmer had such his own style of calling games, and I would listen to White Sox games a ton when I lived south side Chicago for a year. And it was such a distinctive style that it grew on me. And he could go from 0 to 60 just like that.
Tell me more about his style, because I've only listened to a little bit of him. I never lived in Chicago.
So with respect to all White Sox fans who are going to say, that's not the way that Ed Farmer was, it was so matter of fact. Here's the pitch. Swinging a line drive, single into left field. And that'll bring up this guy. It was just boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. It just was so, here's what we're dealing with. Here's this. It was matter of fact. It was to the point. There was nothing flowery. It was, here is the play-by-play of this baseball game. But when he needed to reach for the fastball, he had a fastball. And a deep voice to go with it, too.
Well, he was a pitcher. I hope he had a fastball. All right, let's do a few more. I guess we got to do this one. I mean, let's go back to the beginning of this one.
I was wondering.
Hayward not quite as deep in right. A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it and throw to Rizzo. It's in time. and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series. Hayward not quite as deep in right. A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it and throw to Rizzo. It's in time, and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
All right, so that's a much shorter version of it.
Are they going to truncate Pat Hughes like that?
Yeah. Truncate, very good word. Chris Emma, truncating Pat Hughes.
Pat Hughes has another one of those voices that when you hear Pat, you don't confuse him with anybody else. And I think that's such a strength for a broadcaster.
Let's go back and watch this one.
Ooh.
So the caption from Cal, you could never recreate the energy of this call if you tried. All right, Cal, let's see.
I hope I can steal a little summoning from you, Dave. 3 balls, 2 strikes, the pitch. Swinging a long drive, deep left field. Going, it's gone! Game over. It's a walk-off, game-winning, season-saving home run for Jason Worth. And the Nationals have won the game 2-1. Unbelievable! Jason Worth leaps into a mob scene at home plate. The Nationals are still alive, and we'll have a game 5. We'll be back here tomorrow night.
I love the phrase season saving.
Yeah. Charlie Slows, NLDS. That was amazing. That was one of the first huge moments for the Nats franchise.
Season saving. I'm writing this down. Because you could also say game saving.
You could, but game
saving.
saving or season saving, one carries a lot more import.
Well, I was thinking about something that I can do in June.
Oh, yeah. I check into an Isotopes game. I'm going, wow, a little early for the season to be on the brink, but I'm so glad they got that.
All right, I know I've said a few more multiple times, but let's do a few more.
Especially because I feel bad for all those franchises who the algorithm has put us at its mercy.
Yeah, that's true too. So we did an episode of Joe Castiglione when he falls out of his chair to make his call. That was part of the episode that we did, which was really good. Here's another Dave Niehaus, oh my.
Oh my, oh my. Murph.
Yeah, that's when the Mets nearly blew like this enormous lead and they have finally held on.
And then we get into a bunch where, hey, thanks everyone for just posting your quotes.
Yeah,
Instead of actually posting the call. Call.
Let's finish with Jason Benetti.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. All right. So let's go back. We got to pause this and go back because we mentioned doing a homage to someone from the broadcasting past.
There's a breaking ball in for a strike, and he stood there like the house by the side of the road and watched it go by. Struck him out.
Everyone else stood there like the house by the side of the road and let the Tigers go by.
There's a breaking ball in for a strike, and he stood there like the house by the side of the road and watched it go by. Struck him out.
Everyone else stood there like the house by the side of the road and let the Tigers go by.
Oh, well done, Jason.
What I appreciate about Jason, and I've disagreed with some folks up here, he's so clever. He does not care if you don't get his references. And he is Mr. Pop Culture. And he is brilliant. But this is when he says this in a moment this big, as this Tigers team went from being under 500 and looking like they were going nowhere to making the postseason and making a run. This is such a gorgeous wink and tip of the cap.
We did an episode on Ernie Harwell. We had Detroit native Joe Block join us for that episode. And we got into a number of the different phrases that Ernie Harwell would use. And what I especially like about this one, Jesse, is that he used the phrase, he did it with a wink, but he also did it in a different context.
Yes. I mean, I'll say when a batter strikes out looking, I'll use it in that same context as an allusion and a tip of the cap to Ernie. But to use it in this moment to say that the Tigers have passed other teams on their way into clinching a wild card, that's next level.
All right. So this was a lot of fun. Thanks to Jeff Passan for the tweet, the inspiration for this episode. Was there any that we did not view that you think that we should view, whether it's for a future episode or just anything else that you want to add here before we sign off on this episode, Jesse?
Yeah, I think just to take people behind the curtain, it's important to you and I that we're covering all the different cities and all the different fan bases. And so, yes, if you're a Red Sox fan, it's when the Red Sox win the World Series. Or yes, when you're a Cubs fan, it's when the Cubs break the curse. And you can keep on going right down the road. So I was thinking about all those franchises that were not represented right here. Do you remember? So Jose Fernandez has passed away. Was it D. Gordon who hit the home run in tribute to him for the Marlins? That, to my mind, is staggering and tear-jerking moment in baseball, recent baseball history, that just to represent the Marlins, I would listen to that call again.
It makes me think also about the no-hitter the Angels threw in the first game after Tyler Skaggs.
Yes.
And the image of all the players taking off their jerseys and placing it on the mound where it has his name on it. And those powerful moments as well. Which makes me realize the Angels didn't get any love. Maybe we need an Angels episode at some point here.
I would love it because they have had some moments over the course of their history. I'm on board.
Yeah.
I've got a good list going here.
Yeah, me too. Right. All right. For my friend Jesse Goldberg-Strassler of the Lansing Lugnuts.
Hold on. So just to sum things up, and I apologize for interrupting you. Thank you, Jeff Passan, for taking a moment to say baseball radio calls are important. It's so cool. It's cool to hear the great ones. It's cool to hear this from Howie Rose and to say, all right, let's share this. And it's so cool to see everybody come out to celebrate with them, to say baseball radio calls matter. Here's one that matters to me. This celebration of baseball on the radio, I am here for it.
And especially here in October, it's really fun because I find myself listening to games on the radio, literally in my car, in the backyard as I'm doing yard work, but also the television calls of it. I go out of my way to listen to a wide variety of radio and TV calls throughout October. And so it's super fun that we now have the technology where we can immediately hear these things, that we can immediately put the audio on top of the video of the Howie Rose call. And so it just makes it so much fun because there really is something about driving in your car and you hear this enormous moment. And at least for me, I'm like hanging onto the wheel because I want to make sure that I don't crash while goosebumps are going through my body for this incredible moment.
Yeah. I think about staying up late at night and listening to a baseball game on the radio, especially the ones on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast. And I'm not going to sleep until that game ends. I'm hanging on every single word, and I love it. Baseball on the radio matters, and it's beautiful.
One last thought about baseball on the radio. When you pull up to your house.
Yeah. Don't get out of your car.
Don't get out of the car because you might miss it, right? Like, how long is it going to take to get out of the car, to get all the things, to unlock the door, to turn on the TV, to get it all set up? I might miss something. I'm just going to sit in my driveway until this inning concludes.
Tigers Guardian series, Dan Dickerson on one side and Tom Hamilton on the other side. And it's just like, okay, what's going to happen next? Who's going to have the next big swing, especially in this postseason, which has been a postseason of huge swings in 2024. What's going to happen next? And I trust that the broadcasters are going to be up for the call. What's going to happen next with crafting the call? We'll find out next week.
For Jesse Goldberg-Strassler of the Lansing Lugnuts, I'm Josh Suchon of the Albuquerque Isotopes. We'll talk to you again next week.